Chapter 5 The Thing About Lena. Eliza was pleasantly surprised the next morning when Alex greeted her with a big smile, and Kara ate all her food and then some. At the breakfast table, Kara and Alex flashed childish smiles at each other. Alex tossed a hash brown at Kara while Kara was stuffing her mouth with scrambled eggs, and Kara somehow managed to catch the greasy potato nugget in her already full mouth. Alex rewarded Kara with 3 claps for her achievement. Eliza watched on, smiling, and said, "It's so good to see you girls happy and acting like normal sisters again." Bits of egg and potatoes sprayed everywhere from Kara's Kryptonian cough, while Alex cracked up in laughter. "Sorry, Mom," Kara said as she cleaned up in a blur. "That's okay," Eliza said, confused about what just had happened. Kara heard the bus approaching, and the girls scampered out the door with a quick, "Bye, Mom." The Danvers house was near the first stop of the bus every morning, so they always had the first pick of seats. Usually, they would go to the very back, but the rear windows made the seats less than ideal. They picked the seats 1 row forward and crouched down as low as they could get. They kissed awkwardly and passionately, with the thrill of living dangerously. Only about 2 minutes later, the bus made its next stop, so the girls straightened themselves out, hiding all signs of intimacy, except for the glows on their faces. The back of the bus was the most desirable section, so in no time, Kara and Alex were surrounded by fellow students, yet hidden in plain view. Earth and Krypton were making out like yin and yang, all their senses focused on the tight space between them. Again, the girls' hands embraced in the folds of Kara's skirt, fingers stroking palms, then hesitating, then intertwining. The gentle friction of Kara's bare knee against Alex's jeans felt as scandalous as a kiss. Blonde hair blended with brunette as lips met ears in turns, whispering jokes and promises and sweet nothings that meant everything. Suddenly, life made sense, and for the first time, Kara felt like she belonged. When they arrived at the school, the Danvers girls were the last students off the bus, yet they trotted out the door and into the school grounds like it was the beginning of an adventure. Then they stopped abruptly as soon as their feet touched the pavement, as if stepping into another world. About 20 yards away, at the edge of the school grounds, the bully Donnie from yesterday confronted Eric and Lena again. Kara had heard that Donnie was suspended, so clearly he came back to school to finish what he had started yesterday, then escape. He brought a friend this time, and both boys were wearing identical black and red caps, like it was a gang symbol. Donnie was carrying a knife, while the other boy brandished a black segment of pipe. Eric and Lena were trying to back away. The stranger maneuvered to cut off their escape, while Donnie laughed wickedly and moved in for the kill. That was when Donnie's cap suddenly caught on fire. He stumbled backwards in confusion, threw off the cap, and patted down his smoking hair. The other boy seemed infuriated rather than confused. He rushed forward to attack when his cap also caught on fire. In the confusion, Eric and Lena slipped away and hurried into the school. Kara watched as a small crowd cautiously approached the 2 human torches nearby. She was barely fazed when Alex removed the eyeglasses that were melting onto her face. "Geez, Kara, that was reckless," she whispered urgently. Kara flashed Alex a sour look and said simply, "They were trying to kill my friends." "Sorry," Alex backtracked when she saw that Kara was shaking. "I didn't mean to be mean. I'm glad you helped them. It doesn't seem like anyone noticed where the fire came from. I couldn't even tell I saw the glasses melting." "You just need to be careful." Kara's heart and mind were attacking each other. She had never deliberately hurt anyone before, but she had never saved anyone before either. She hadn't even thought before she acted. Sometimes she forgot how powerful she was, because she had always tried to forget. Being powerful was scary. Kara covered her face with her hand, and tears started to flow when she felt that her face was naked. "Dad's glasses." Alex choked up as she realized what Kara meant. Her dad had given Kara these glasses to help her control her super-sensitive vision. It was the last thing he'd given to anyone. She put an arm around Kara. "It's okay. Maybe we can fix them. The frames don't look too bad." "You look really pretty without glasses," Lena said upon meeting Kara in biology class, then hurried to add, "Actually, you look pretty either way." "Thank you," Kara said, gratefully. She was still sad about losing the glasses, but that was a small price to pay for Lena and Eric's well-being. And if glasses contributed to her ugliness factor, then maybe she would never wear glasses again. Lena did not look like someone who had been afraid for her life just a couple of hours earlier. She was able to brush it off and put it behind her. Kara admired that ability and doubted she could ever do the same. Maybe she could get over almost dying. She had brushed up against death often enough in her old life to be comfortable with her own mortality. But she had much more difficulty dealing with hate. She always wanted to think the best of people, and it messed her up the way people do evil to each other. Kara could tell that Lena was used to it, and Lena would not let hate affect how she lived her life. That's what Kara admired. The homophobic biology teacher toned his opinions down today, thank Rao. He went over the homework assignment. Kara and Alex only scored a 70%, which was shockingly bad for Alex since she knew this stuff well. Apparently, Alex was so distracted by her feelings that she started considering everything a primary sexual characteristic, at least on the girls' section. Kara giggled when the teacher talked about a theory that girls' boobs have evolved to resemble their butts for sexual attraction. Kara mentally compared Alex's boobs to her butt, and her face turned bright red. Lena, of course, did not miss the emotional display. She joked, "Be careful, I think you're about to spontaneously combust." Kara felt that hot. It took all of her effort to stop laughing, but even with that, the teacher paused and looked at her. She prayed that he didn't ask her if she was all right. Her prayer was answered. Lena didn't let up on the jokes for the rest of the class, but Kara kept it under control. "You are so different today. What happened to you last night?" Once the teacher excused the students and the classroom started emptying out. Eric somehow knew Lena meant this to be a private conversation between the two girls, so he said quite reasonably, "I'll scout the halls for danger. See you at lunch?" Once Eric was out of sight and the girls were alone in the classroom, Lena bounced eagerly and demanded, "Well?" "I don't kiss and tell." Kara bit her lip and looked off into the distance. "Oh, so there is something to tell," Lena teased, as though Kara had spilled all of her beans. Kara immediately changed the topic. "I want you to meet my sister. Can she sit with us for lunch?" Lena's smile immediately fell into a frown. "I don't think that's a good idea." "Oh," Kara replied, surprised. She didn't know what to say, as the hurt settled in. Lena could see the hurt, and she hurried to explain without explaining anything. "I want to meet your sister. I really do. But I can't." Kara stared at Lena, not wanting to pressure her, but also feeling that they were getting pretty close, and Kara was getting very close to Alex. She wanted all of her friends to be friends with each other, so she finally threw up her hands and asked, "Why?" "You won't believe me," Lena said, now looking down sadly. Kara knew that feeling all too well. "I might," she reassured. Lena sighed, quickly looking for spies, then said quietly, "I can read people's minds. Not everyone's. I can't read your mind, and I can't read Eric's. I can only sense what you are feeling. I can feel when you're happy or sad. But with most people, I can read their minds when I'm near them. It's like a big invasion of privacy. Friends need some privacy." Kara nodded and said optimistically, "Well, maybe you can't read Alex's mind either. Maybe she's just like Eric and me." Lena's face flashed shock that Kara immediately accepted her claim to be a telepath. And then she looked relieved and said with a little hope, "Maybe." "I'll go get her, and we'll meet you and Eric at lunch," Kara said, excitedly, as she hurried to go meet Alex, who was probably still at the lab, finishing an experiment. Alex always stayed late in the lab. Alex was closing up a Petri dish containing what looked like shit when Kara arrived. Kara was excited as she told Alex about what Lena had revealed, adding that it was exciting to meet someone else who had special powers. Alex eyed Kara like she was a dumb blonde who stated the obvious. If she can read minds, what's to keep her from learning who you really are? "Oh," Kara said, disappointed. That idea hadn't occurred to her. Maybe it didn't occur to her because she trusted Lena and wouldn't mind if Lena knew her secret. Lena had trusted Kara, so she could at least trust her in return. Besides, Kara was tired of lying to people. Ever since Jeremiah died, Alex and Eliza had been keeping Kara's birthplace as secret as the US nuclear launch codes. Alex laughed and reassured, "Of course, we don't really have anything to worry about. Scientists have proven telepathy isn't real. Remember what I told you about Lena? She has psychological problems. She hears voices, and I guess she thinks those voices are from minds she reads." But Kara was about to object. What did scientists think about humans flying before Superman showed up? Alex cut her off. "I feel sorry for her. Mom thinks she's bad news, but you believe she has a good heart, and you have a good sense for that, so I believe it too. Let's go meet her. I mean, them. There's a guy too, right?" "Yeah, Eric," Kara said, then paused, deciding how to describe him. "But he's harmless." Lena and Eric had already eaten half of the food on their plate when the Danvers girls arrived at the cafeteria, so Alex and Kara each grabbed an apple and hurried over before they finished. Kara nearly leaped onto the seat beside Lena without considering to introduce her sister. Alex smiled at Eric as she sat down beside him, and she politely introduced herself. "I don't know if you remember me from last year, but I'm Alex, Kara's sister." Lena shook her hand nervously and said with a surprise but no judgment, "You two are much closer than I thought." Alex's and Kara's eyes locked for a moment. Maybe the truth was written all over their faces. Or maybe... Alex shrugged, saying, "Well, yeah, Kara was adopted, but it's like we've been best friends forever." Lena eyed Alex suspiciously. She wasn't buying that evasion for a second. Then she looked at Kara and whispered, "Zor-El?" Kara smiled, while alarm grew on Alex's face. Then Lena looked back at Alex with a jerk of her head. "It was you," she said with a surprise and sadness in her eyes. Then she tried to turn away, looking at neither girl, and said ominously, "This was a mistake." "Yes," Alex agreed, nearly jumping out of her seat. She covered her face as she ran out of the cafeteria. "Alex!" Kara called after her as she stood up. "You should go after her," Lena suggested, with a light touch on Kara's arm. Kara didn't need to be told twice, as she followed after Alex. She kept her senses enough to run at human-like speed, but still caught up with Alex in just a few seconds, and Alex ran back into the lab. Alex's eyes filled with tears. Kara cried all of the time, but the only time Kara ever saw Alex cry was over the death of her dad, so Kara knew this was a big deal. "I didn't tell Lena about my Kryptonian name," Kara said. Alex nodded. "I know." "What happened?" Kara asked, confused. Suddenly, Alex jumped forward to kiss Kara on her lips, then her cheek, then her eyes, then hugged her as tight as she could. Kara hugged her back, but asked, "Alex?" "I was wrong," Alex replied. Then after a moment, she added, "About a lot of things." Kara wanted to know what things, but she didn't want to upset Alex any further, so she pulled an apple out of her pocket. Alex wiped her tears and asked with teasing disapproval, "You took the apple?" Kara smiled and said, "Well, you know me, always thinking of food." "That's an awfully small lunch for you," Alex teased. Kara took a bite, then handed the apple to Alex. "For us." Alex smiled and took a bite over Kara's bite. The two girls huddled in a corner of the lab beside the Bunsen burners, beakers, and funnels, eating the single apple between kisses. They finished their lunch, satisfied.